I've been a superstar, and I got paid for what I knew, and I shared the game with them. So much guidance. That's what I did. They paid for knowledge.
Salutations, family, and welcome back to Ride Along with the Storm. Something I came to the realization recently, family, from seeing all of the stories in the news cycles with these relationships breaking up and these marriages breaking up, from Teyana Taylor and her husband to Cardi B and Offset, even down to Tia Mowry and her husband. And one thing I always find in common, or a common thread in all these narratives, is that these females feel the need to paint their ex or their ex-husband or their ex-paramour as the bad guy in the relationships. And being in multiple relationships in my past, one thing I always realized about women is when women decide to exit one relationship and they terminate one relationship and they move on to the next relationship with another man, oftentimes in a very short period of time, women feel the need to divulge a lot of information about their past relationship to the man that they enter the new relationship with. And most of the time they do it, and it's disingenuous because they do it to try to paint their ex as the bad guy. And a lot of these women, I think that they feel the need to paint their ex as the bad guy to gain sympathy or to gain some kind of emotional attachment to this new guy. Almost like when you see females share their trauma, their stories of past failed relationships, they go through a process of trauma bonding. Men do not go through the same process of trauma bond as females, but I notice when females enter into new relationships with new men, they feel the need to divulge all this information about their ex and paint him out as the bad guy in order to try to make themselves seem more exalted or to try to improve their status in the eyes of this new man. And it almost never works. What it does, it sets a lot of women up for other men who like to act in predatory manners. And that's why you see a lot of women who claim they've been in numerous relationships that were predatory. It's because they set themselves up for these predatory relationships, because time and time again they divulge a lot of information that their new significant other, has no reason to need, and most of the time he doesn't even want to hear this kind of stuff. You know, a lot of times women think the more information they divulge to people, the closer that makes them to people through trauma bonding. And that's really not the case. Really, oftentimes with men, the less a man knows about a woman, the better. That's why you see a lot of females who used to be freaks of 304s back in the day. A lot of those women are happily married now, and they go on to have successful long-term relationships with men because they understand the fact that less is more when it comes to dealing with most men. Most men really don't care about your sexual history or your sexual past, especially if they're not inferring or inquiring about who you've been with in the past. A lot of dudes say to themselves they accept you the way you are, and for you to volunteer a lot of extracurricular information is to your own detriment. But I see women do it time and time again. I've seen women that I've known now, family, for a multitude of years, and they've been in numerous relationships over these multitude of years. And if you have a conversation with them right now, they'll tell you every one of the men that they've been with is the problem. They never think of themselves as the problem. But like my grandmother used to always say, it's not everybody else is the problem, it's you. When you look at, if you've had 6 or 7 relationships over the past 10 to 15 years, and you're the only common denominator in the whole equation, you have to be the problem. It's no way around it. But when you see it, it's a lack of accountability a lot of times, and a lot of females in the community, and they don't want to take accountability, first off, for not being able to practice discernment to choose the proper mate for them. But not only after that, they refuse to see any of the red flags that present themselves at the beginning of the relationship. They still continue the relationship until the level of toxicity in the relationship is unbearable and almost physically physically unsafe for them, then they choose to exit the relationship and divulge all this information to anyone who will listen to try to improve what they think is their status or to gain some kind of sympathy in the eyes of others. And most of the time, it's often not the case. A lot of times, people view these females who divulge all of this information, it's like watching a train wreck. It's so entertaining you can't turn away, even though it's so tragic. And when you see these women, they can't help themselves. They like a lot of women like this level of toxicity because it gives them a lot of entertainment, it gives them something to do, and then it creates the ability for them to trauma bond with other females. A lot of females right now in society, especially the ones that are on social media, they haven't even been through half of the stuff that they're even claiming to know about or they're claiming knowledge of. They're just going off what I like to call the color purple paradigm, where so many women have been through these kind of dilemmas or these tragic relationships that now all women as a group have identified this identity as being victims or being victimized by the men they're in relationships, and a lot of times that's not the case, family. But for real, you have to be real discerning and in who you want to divulge a lot of information to. A lot of people are just trying to get information from you, family, just to use that information to get you. Usually it's the people who are the closest with you who have the highest capability of hurting you. That's because you divulge your most inner seekings, your most inner secrets, and the innermost workings of your relationships with your close friends. Then once you turn around and you have a conversation with these people that's not beneficial or not positive, the first thing these people do, they flip around and they throw the same information that you divulge to them in confidence, and then they use that information against you, and they go around and use it to spread rumors and talk about it to other people behind your back, and it's just real tragic, family. But that's going to be all for me on this episode, family. Jump in the comments and let me know what you think, family. Do women share too much information with the men that they into relationships with about their exes? If you believe so, let me know. If not, let me know what you think to the contrary, family. But that's going to be all for me on this episode. I'm going to catch y'all next time. Thank y'all for joining me. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, family. I'm going to catch y'all next time. Peace.